This pattern is Ridsdale's Pale Blue Dun. And for the hook, I'm using a Mustad R50 XAP. For the silk, I'm using a vintage spool of Purcell's Yellow, which is well waxed. For the body, I'm using a few strands of heron herl. For the tail, I'm using a few hackle fibres from a light blue dun. And for the hackle, I'm using a pale blue dun cock hackle. So first of all, I take my yellow silk and I prepare it by heavily waxing it with some gold cobbler's wax. I don't really want to darken the colour of the silk too much. I just want to give it a more subtle shading. And now to dress the fly, I come in and catch in my silk directly behind the eye of the hook with about 8 turns of silk. Now I take my scissors and I just cut off that waist end of silk there. And now I'm ready to prepare the tail of the fly. So I just take my cock hackle and I just pull off a few fibres. Probably about 9 or 10. Now taking my scissors, I just trim off those curly ends so I've got a nice flat end. I'll just take my silk down about 4 or 5 more turns. And now catching those tail fibres with a simple pinch and loop. And now's the time to just judge the length of those final tail fibres. And I'm happy with them. And now I'll catch them down onto the hook shank with another 3 or 4 turns. Now taking my heron herl, I'll just fret out 2 or 3 individual fibres, like so, and I'll offer them up to the hook to again be trapped down. So now my silk will just come in with tight touching turns, trapping both the tail fibres and the herl down onto that hook shank. It's up to you what length of fly body you want, but I'm pretty much certain theirs roughly quite nice. Come in with my scissors and just trim those waist ends off. And now with my silk I come back up the hook shank in nice tight touching turns to form a nice smooth underbody to the fly. And here I'm just going to bury those stray ends of hackle and herl. Now taking the herl in my fingers, I'm going to wrap it in nice open turns so the silk can be clearly seen through the heron herl. So you're getting more of a ribbed effect. I'll just take one more turn and now I'll come in with my silk and I'll catch it down with 3 nice tight turns. And I'll stick one in front. Again, come in with my scissors and just trim off that butt end. And now I'm ready to mount the hackle. And what I've done is I've just taken a few hackle fibres off one end so I get that nice leading edge to the hackle. I just take my silk back to where those hurls are, and now I'll catch in my cock hackle with 4 or 5 nice tight turns of silk. I'm really binding it down. Trim off the waste end of stalk. I'll just take 2 more turns there. Now, catching the hackle in the hackle pliers, I start to wind that hackle in nice, even turns. Every turn directly in front of the last. It's not an overly hackled fly, so I'm just going to probably take 3 or 4 turns, and that'll do me. Come with my silk and again bind that hackle tightly down. There we go. Take my scissors, snip off the waste end of hackle. Give the silk a good pull so it's nice and tight. Come in with my whip finish tool and just make a nice, small, neat whip finish to the fly. Just tighten that silk up. Again, give it another pull. Cut your silk. And now if you've got any stray fibres, you can just trim them out with your scissors. Got one there which I just snip out. And there we have Austin Ridsdale's pale blue done.